Hello, and welcome to the Mid-Week Wednesday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. I'm back at it after we took the day off yesterday from the program to get out and join some of the Remembrance Day services that were happening across the province. A lot of people woke up this morning to a bit of a surprise, did they not? It was a little bit of foreshadowing, perhaps, or a stark reminder of what is to come. When you woke up this morning and you looked out and the rooftops in the neighborhood were white and the grass in front of your house or your apartment building was white and you had to brush some of that snow, at least most of you brushed the snow off your vehicle on the way into work this morning. Some flurries. What weird weather are we having in November, right? If you remember back to the weekend, we had one of those big rain events. And I had a temperature like 16 degrees on my deck. Yesterday, November the 11th, not necessarily balmy, but once the rain stopped, the temperatures were in the, 8, 9, 10, 12 degrees, which is, for those of you that have been going to Remembrance Day services for a number of years, it is quite balmy, to be honest. And then last night, the temperature plummeted, and we got some, I think they're being called sea effect flurries that dumped some snow. There was a point there this morning when I got up. It was snowing pretty hard. It was one of those quote unquote snow squalls that moved through the region, and I thought, holy smokes, what's going on here? And I wasn't alone. Driving in, people, of course, were looking through the windshield wiper slits on their windshield, not maybe having their brush or not having the scraper handy, and then jumping in the elevator here at Young Tower this morning and listening to the conversations, as I'm apt to do, people were kind of caught off guard. Now, it looks like for the most part, I'm just looking out over the north end right now, and there is still some white on rooftops, but it looks like it's melting, and it's going to do so because I think we're getting a temperature in the 5, 6, or 6 to 7 degree range today, so it should melt. We're going to bring Allister Aalders, our weather specialist, on the show today to tell us a little bit about what was responsible for this, and if we can expect any more of these flurries. I sent him a note this morning and told him he had to come onto the show to explain himself. I don't know if he took that the right way or the wrong way, but anyway, we'll get to the bottom of that as part of the program today. Yesterday, of course, was Remembrance Day in Canada, Armistice Day around the world, and Veterans Day down in the United States, a day to get together and, of course, remember sacrifices made by the thousands of Canadians that have served their country and those that pay the ultimate sacrifice. There were Remembrance Day services right across HRM and right across the country, and as I can, just from what I've seen from the photographs and the news coverage of the events, they looked like they were well attended this year. And I went to the Korean Veteran Memorial service this year. It's in my neighborhood, and I haven't been there for a couple of years. I've been trying to spread my time out to going to different services. I've been to Grand Parade. I've been out to Hammonds Plains. And this time I decided just to keep it local and go to my local cenotaph, which is very close to my house. I don't have to drive. I didn't have to park and those kind of things. And lo and behold, when I got to the service in the park, they had big signs put up there that they had moved the service indoors, which I guess they'd done for a couple of years now. So it was inside the Snow Funeral Home there on Lacewood, which was very comfortable, I will say, to be able to sit down and such. But it was weird because I've become accustomed to being outside for Remembrance Day. But anyway, it was a beautiful service, and it was very well attended, and the folks that put that service on did an outstanding job with it. Now, it was a well-attended event by all indications at least across HRM from the coverage, as I mentioned, that I've seen, and it's a day off for many here in Nova Scotia, which is important, I think. But it's not the same in other provinces. It's not a federal stat. I don't want to call it a holiday. It's not a federal stat. It's up to the provinces to do that. In places like Ontario, it's just a regular workday. And I think that's a shame. I think if there's a day where where Canadians should be afforded the opportunity to go to a service. And I know many employers in those provinces give their employees time to go if they are so inclined to head down to a service. But why this is not a national stat holiday, for lack of a better term, I'm at a loss. And I think that it would be pretty easy for the federal government to do that. I think it would be pretty easy for Mark Carney to improve his standing with the veteran community, I will say, by giving that day off to the rest of the country that don't already have it. Something I know that we'll probably talk about later in the show today. Now, I listened to several stories on yesterday from veterans, Korean War veterans, and they were telling their stories. Saw other stories told on the television and in the media and papers and online, and those stories should be, I think, required watching and reading for all of those, particularly those in the halls of power. The cost of war is much more than just the dollars that get spent on it. There are very few vets left from the Second World War and very few left from Korea. Now, those stories need to be preserved, but also there's a couple of generations of veterans whose stories have to be told as well. Afghanistan, United Nations, NATO, many operations and conflicts around the world. These stories also need to be told and recorded, or they may be lost forever. I know from the cohort of my time in the service, not a lot of people like to discuss their time away and in various operations around the world. But it is important that these stories are told, and it puts a personal touch on the stories of the history that we've been told about these conflicts and these events. And I think that it needs to be recorded for posterity so that we, as the saying goes, lest we forget, right? Interesting story that I came across in preparation today, this one by the CBC. It says that if the new federal budget passes, it will change the way disability benefits are calculated for vets. And that has the veteran community worried they'll face a less generous system in the future. The fiscal plan tabled by Finance Minister François-Philippe Champagne on November the 4th proposes to modify the indexing formula so that it's calculated solely on the basis of the Consumer Price Index. Of course, that's the cost of living. That would come into effect in 27. Up to this point, the benefits annual increase has been calculated using either the CPI or the average of a basket of public service salaries, which is ever greater. It is an important, generous distinction in the system which veterans successfully lobbied for back in the 80s. Now, the Liberal government would have to amend legislation in order to take the system back to the way that it was 40 years ago. And the Veterans Affairs Minister, that's Jill McKnight, acknowledged on yesterday, during the annual Remembrance Day service in Ottawa that changes are on the way. This is her quote. What we're doing is making an adjustment to bring it in line with many other services and benefits that are offered and bringing it in line across government for consistency. Veteran advocates, of course, not happy with this. Over the longer term, a former Canadian Forces captain and intelligence officer says the change will make a dramatic difference in how veterans with disabilities are compensated for their sacrifice to Canada. He went on to say that since January of 2005, the CPI has increased about 52%, but veteran disability pensions have risen 70%, in line with the federal public service salaries. I've said it several times that when we have a federal budget, there's just so much that's included in these things, and the big money items are the ones that get the attention. This kind of quietly got stuck in there, in my opinion. It's interesting how the federal government's looking to save money and cut costs. We've talked about the civil service getting a haircut of 10%. We've talked about other initiatives that the federal government has done, but should we be adjusting the way that we pay benefits out to veterans? Didn't see a whole lot in that document about adjusting the gold-plated pensions that the MPs get. I'll let you think about that one. We're going to open up the telephone lines at noon today. I expect to hear from you out there about this. And, of course, the beauty of the open line is that we can talk about whatever it is that's on your mind. And that's the beauty of it. We're, of course, going to do it at noon today. It's Wednesday. It's hard for me to get my head wrapped around this with a day off on Tuesday. It's Wednesday today, Dan. That means, of course, Dr. John Gillis will be here with house calls at 11 o'clock today to answer your medical-related questions. So I hope that you can join that conversation as well. We're getting into that time of the year. Just heard that a sister station of ours in Toronto, CHFI, for those of you who are familiar with the Toronto radio market, has flipped today to play continuous Christmas music from now until Christmas Day. So I guess we're into the season. It is the 12th. We've passed the Remembrance Day marker, and now it's full steam ahead into the holiday system, is it not? So I would imagine, and there already have been events and fairs and crafters things going on prior to Remembrance Day, but it's full steam ahead now. I'm going to suggest that this is the start line for people as they build their momentum towards the 25th of December. And we've got, of course, all the craziness that is Black Friday that's coming up, and it goes on and on and on. We know that the economy is in a different spot this year than it has been Christmas past. We know that we're continuing to deal with the fallout of the tariff war between the United States. I know many of you are trying to focus on buying local this Christmas. So we're going to give you the opportunity to do that, because this weekend coming up, November 14th through the 16th, over at the Zatzman Sportsplex, the Dartmouth Handcrafters Guild is having an event. It's a full weekend of fun and frivolity, as I call it. There's going to be booths there from people from all over Nova Scotia and all over the place selling their wares, getting those unique gifts for you for the Christmas season. And we want to help start your Christmas season off in the appropriate way. Vanessa was walking by the prize cabinet this morning, and I don't remember. Vanessa, how many do we have? We have 2 sets of 4 tickets to give away. The lines are now open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. If you want to go to the Dartmouth Handcrafters Guild event this weekend at the Zatzman Sportsplex, here's your opportunity, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Best of luck, and have a good time at the show. We're going to stop and take a break. When we come back, our weather specialist, Allister Aalders, will be here. Where did those flurries come from, and are there any more coming? You're listening to The Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back. We're off and running on the Wednesday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. Lynn Myra and Carl Myers, congratulations, our latest winners here on the program. You never know. You just never know when Vanessa goes by the prize cabinet if something is going to fall out of there. So make sure you keep your radio locked right here to the Todd Veinotte Show on 95.7 News Radio. Speaking of 95.7 News Radio, you hear our next guest here every weekday morning and afternoon, because he's the hardest working weather specialist that I know. He might be the only weather specialist that I know, but that's okay. And that, of course, is Allister Aalders. Allister, how are you?
Oh, that's very kind of you, Dan. I'm good. How are you?
I was going to start this off by saying, explain yourself, sir. But because, we don't talk about the S word or the F word in November, at least early November. And I got to tell you, I was kind of taken aback when that squall hit this morning.
Well, I mean, especially after 2 days of, mid-teen temperatures and rain, and I mean, even parts of the province were near 20 degrees earlier in the week, and then, waking up to, here in the Halifax area, at least the squall was brief. I've been seeing pictures from parts of the valley and the Minus Basin of accumulation, and, not just a couple of centimeters, like possibly upwards of 5 or a bit more for some. So it's just a reminder. It's that time of year. I mean, we enjoyed the mild weather, but at this time of year, the cold air is always lurking.
It's there. It's
there.
waiting, right? It's like it's waiting for you to have your guard down, and then it drops a centimeter or two on you.
Oh, it's like, it's 15 degrees. It's raining. No need to worry. This time yesterday, the temperature did fall throughout the day yesterday, but it was still fairly mild. But it's like waking up today compared to yesterday. It's like, what happened? But, this is all part of that same air mass that's been bringing, snow to Quebec and Ontario, their first, kind of significant or at least impactful snow of the season, and record cold to the southeastern U.S. Some places in Florida, at least in the morning, were colder than it was here the other day. So it's a vast area of early season, I guess, winter, if you will, or at least early season cold. And while obviously we're not seeing it to the same extent in terms of, at least, I guess, widespread snow, or, we're not quite into the deep freeze, temperatures are certainly have gone from being well above seasonal to, a bit below. We should be near about 7-8 degrees during the day at this time of year, and our highs the next couple more so mid-single digits.
Is this weather pattern now changing, Allister? Are the mid-teens are they behind us, or are there more in the near future?
Well, I wouldn't say that at this time of year. It's certainly becoming fewer and far between, because we're putting kind of that spring-like air, I guess, if you will, or late fall air into the rearview mirror. It's not uncommon as we go over the next, I guess, month or so. We get the occasional system that draws in really mild air. So, I would not rule out, temperatures climbing into the teens possibly once again if such a system were to develop. But obviously at this point, we're kind of in that battle between, seasonal or a bit warmer and cooler than average. Through the end of the week, it's certainly cooler than normal. Mid-single digit highs, maybe at the coast closer to average for this time of year, just with a more favorable wind direction. But, with our next system that comes in, our next defined system, I should say, on Sunday, that's set to bring more rain and even milder temperatures. It looks like highs will only be in, kind of the high single digits, maybe near 10 degrees for some. So we're not looking at any mid-teen or high-teen temperatures in the outlook right now, but I never discount them. And I always think back to Christmas Day. I think it was 2014, I think, because I think that was part of that year where it rained right through December, and then we had that the awful winter of 2015, where I think it was Christmas Day or around that time. It was well into the teens, and I think for some near 20 degrees on Christmas Day. So from time to time, we do get those systems that really pull in the mild air, but I think any widespread warmth is somewhat in the rearview mirror now.
What are we looking at for the rest of the week, Mr. Aalders?
Well, we have a bit of a blocking pattern set up between Greenland and Iceland, so that promotes a bit of a blocked up pattern. So we have a trough of low pressure that's coming in tonight with a few showers, but then that stalls over Newfoundland. And another weak trough comes in behind it. That gets kind of absorbed into that low and stalls over Newfoundland. So I would say, unsettled's a bit of a good word, because it's not going to be certainly as rainy as the last couple of days. but certainly, a chance for expecting a few showers overnight and into tomorrow, and then a lingering chance of showers through Thursday and Friday. We get a bit of a break Saturday, looking like a decent day, and then our next more defined system moves in on Sunday. The timing's still a bit unclear with that one, but looks like it comes in during the day Sunday, and that we should be on the warmer side of that with more rain, possibly a bit of wind, and that system will somewhat linger because we're still dealing with that blocking in the far North Atlantic. So we see that one slowly moving through during the first half of next week. So overall, what I would say is, we've been talking about how the pattern has changed. It's more active. We've had a number of systems, kind of traveling across the country. A lot of them have been very Clipper-like systems, Alberta Clippers. So we're going to continue that pattern of at least, weather systems heading in our direction. I say, we get some relief, I guess, from the wind because it has been certainly very windy start to November with these. Really since Halloween, it's been quite windy. And we get a bit of a break from the wind as we go through tonight. And then for the most part through the rest of the week, winds pick up a bit Friday, but then we get a bit of a break from at least the consistent gusty winds until likely early next week.
Had a couple of significant rain events here in HRM and across the province, Allister, over the last few days. I know it feels weird that it's Wednesday, but we feel like we're already through a weekend with a day off yesterday. That all being said, had a conversation on Monday with Halifax Water, who had said that the water levels on Lake Major had risen by about 35 centimeters as a result of the rain that we've had as of late. I know you watch the drought conditions here pretty close. Are we getting to a point where we can say that we're out of the severe drought point and getting into the moderate end of it?
It's so I would say, personally, I think so, just because, we've seen the pattern do a complete reversal where, we've been pretty much, the last few days, the exception where it's kind of rained for a couple of days, but we've been in that pattern where it rains one day, the next day's a break, it rains the next. So we've seen a complete change in the pattern, and the rainfall has certainly been beneficial. It's not just been these 5 or 10 millimeter rain events. We're seeing 30, 40, 50 millimeter rain events. The most recent system dropped between 40 and 60 millimeters on average. For much of HRM, parts of the Eastern Shore actually had over 100 millimeters over the last few days. So, that is certainly significant. It's impactful. It helps with the drought. Part of the problem is that the data to analyze it very much lags behind. So we don't even have the update for what the status was at the end of October yet. I'm assuming that should hopefully come today. It's a little later than usual. And again, that's only through the end of October. We've had a lot of rain through the first half of November. So I'd like to think that it's only been improving and continues to improve. But while our perception is that it should be, almost maybe erased or resolved, droughts take a lot of time to recover from, and we were in a very significant deficit, especially through the valley and parts of the North Shore. So while we've certainly been making up for it, there's a lot to make up for. So I think while conditions are improving, I think we will still see when the data comes out that some areas are still dealing, with at least some form of drought, although hopefully not as severe or exceptional. I'm just hearing from people now that they're finally starting to see some improvement in their wells. So it's taken to this point in the mid-month that people are starting to, I guess, feel a bit of that comfort again, that their well levels are at least starting to recharge or return to some level of normalcy for them.
Allister, we've got like 30 seconds. The all-important question is, have you put your snow tires on yet?
Not yet. Next week. So
there you have it, folks. When the weather specialist puts his snow tires on, that's the indication when it's the snowy season's on us.
I have, all the insights. So yeah, if you haven't booked this morning's a good reminder. If you don't have your seasonal tire change booked yet, now's the time to do so. And I guess good luck getting in because it books up fast at this time of year.
It does. Allister Aalders, our weather specialist. I appreciate your time, sir.
Appreciate it, and I'll see you Friday.
That is Allister. You will see him Friday here for his regular look into the weekend, and you'll hear his forecast Monday through Friday, both in the morning and in the afternoon. We're going to take a break here on the program, and when we come back, we're going to get an update on a situation that I think is getting more contentious on those two picket lines at a pair of universities here in Halifax at SMU and over at the Mount. When we get an update from the president of CUPE 3912, that's Lauren McKenzie, right after the break. All right, welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show, the Midweek Wednesday edition of the program. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Hope you managed to get through this morning. I know we're making a little bit of this, but it's concerning to me when we get our first snowfalls of the year, because if you've been around this part of the world for any length of time, you know that those first snowfalls tend to be stark reminders, I will say, to the driving public out there about the dangers. Now, I get it that the roads really didn't get covered with snow, but the rooftops certainly did, and the grass certainly did, and it is a good opportunity to sort of remind ourselves that it is coming. In fact, the province put out a release last week saying that we should be getting ready for the winter driving season, and that involves getting those tires put on your car. What did we do? 92% of Atlantic Canadians put snow tires on their cars every year. So I hope that you use this morning's events, as I will call it, as an opportunity to remind yourself that it's time to get ready, get the car ready, and get yourself ready for the winter season. This story came across my desk late last week and into the weekend, and of course this week has been a bit different with the day off on Tuesday, but I still think it's important to have the conversation. Last Friday, the union that represents striking workers at both SMU and at Mount St. Vincent University received a request from both of the employers to enter into binding arbitration as that strike continues on both campuses. Very pleased to welcome to the show today the president of CUPE 3912. That is Lauren McKenzie. Lauren, how are you?
Hi, Dan. I'm great. How you doing?
I am well. I guess what's the very latest? What's the newest news on the ongoing labor disruption at these two schools?
Well, pardon me. Lots happening today, Dan.
Okay.
So the union rejected the employer's request to enter into binding arbitration. We felt that was not an appropriate step to take for all kinds of reasons. But the employer, we felt, as I've said all along, we're looking to have fair negotiations with the employer at the bargaining table. And binding arbitration isn't that as well. So after rejecting that request, the employers approached the union again and requested that we return to the bargaining table. And so we were happy, relieved to hear that the employer wants to have, negotiations. And so today, the St. Mary's Bargaining Committee is in negotiations with the employer. And tomorrow, Mount St. Vincent Bargaining Committee will be in negotiations. And with the provincially appointed conciliator. And these are called sort of shuttle negotiations, where we're in one room and the employer's in the other room, and the conciliator goes back and forth. And, the union has put fair proposals on the table, and those proposals haven't been fairly addressed. So that's what we're looking to happen today and tomorrow.
So that's a little bit of good news.
Yeah, it is good news. And I'm here at the Mount today. We had a visit from our National Secretary Treasurer, Candace Rennick, who brought us a lot of solidarity, a lot of support, and a big check for $20,000 to support our strike. And, we're going to maintain our strike until those deals are ratified with the employers. So we're not there yet. But, this is day 22 of our strike, and this is how long it has taken the employer to sort of realize, like, these folks aren't going to give up on getting fair wages and job security for their members. And so maybe we're going to have that conversation finally.
Lauren, is this the first time that you've returned to the table since your folks at the picket lines?
Well, we did have, from the Mount, we did have a request for talks. You may recall it was, 10 or 12 days ago.
Okay.
And we did that, but it was really, it wasn't a meaningful meeting.
Right.
And we're happy, to say that we think today and tomorrow will be meaningful. However, as I said, we're not there yet, and we're not going to give up on our key proposals and key demands for members. So we'll see.
Can you, for those that maybe just joining the conversation, Lauren, can you tell us a little bit about those key proposals and key demands? What's at stake here? What are you looking for in a new deal? Yeah.
So to sort of to give you the high level sort of screenshot, contract faculty at our post-secondary institutions here in Nova Scotia, at the Mount and at St. Mary's, are really the lowest paid in the country. Now, these folks are highly skilled, highly trained, passionate educators, yet are paid significantly below the median or the mean or the average that people who do this work are paid. So that needs to be addressed. There's also a significant issue around instability and precarity in our work. So people have no job security beyond the end of the term. So, for example, I work at St. Mary's for 15 years, and I'm working from September to December, but I don't know if I'm working January to April. So we have these very short-term contracts. We have no health benefits. We have no pension. We have no job security whatsoever. And, these are very basic demands for any working person, right? So here we are working for these institutions who present themselves as leading academic institutions and great employers, and we're saying it's time to put the contract where your mouth is, essentially.
Lauren, are these two bargaining units bargaining separately? I mean, it's the SMU bargaining unit having one set of talks today and the Mount having another set of talks tomorrow, so that these two contracts are being bargained separately, correct?
Yes, Dan. So our local 3912, we actually have 5 bargaining units within the local. So it's, unions and locals can be structured differently. The way ours is structured is that the Mount represents part-time faculty here, and then St. Mary's, we represent part-time faculty, and another unit represents TAs. So we also have our unit at Dalhousie and our unit at NASCAT. So that's sort of how we're structured. Now, of course, we operate as a whole in many ways, but we do have separate collective agreements.
The reason I asked that question is it raised my eyebrow on Friday when this demand for this request for a binding arbitration came from both employers at the very same time. That just kind of seemed weird to me.
Well, I mean, me too. If I didn't think that they were communicating with each other, and we assume they are. Seeing as, a lot of our faculty, a lot of our members, Dan, work at both schools.
Right.
A lot of these people are the same people. And, I would expect, just as we communicate with other faculty associations and part-time faculty associations, we would assume that they communicate with each other. But, we felt that it was a, coordinated, feeble attempt, essentially.
Obviously, lots moving in this situation. Lauren, looking forward to hearing how the talks go today and tomorrow. And I'm sure that many students and parents and members of your union are also very looking forward to hearing the results of that.
Yeah.
Appreciate your time.
I can't wait to give you an update. Thanks, Dan.
Me too. And we're here. As soon as you get an update, let us know.
I will.
All right, Lauren. Thank you. That is Lauren McKenzie. She is the president of CUPE 3912. There's some movement in those labor disputes, right? They're talking, which is something that hasn't happened for a while. SMU and the union representing striking faculty are meeting today. Tomorrow, the Mount and striking faculty will meet. Hopefully, we'll get a resolution to this, because I would imagine that it's making for difficult times, not only for the people involved in the strike, but also for the students at the schools, correct? Right? You don't really know what classes are going and how it's all going to work its way out. I know we're getting towards the end of the semester and into the Christmas break. So going home for Christmas, if that's what students are doing, and having this looming over them, certainly would not be a fun situation to be in. We're going to stop. We're going to take a break. We're going to have a conversation on the other side of that break with the president and CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. Patrick Sullivan will join us to tell us about Atlantic University presidents joining a conversation to sort of tell everybody about how important they are to the economies of the cities here in Nova Scotia. Patrick Sullivan, your guest. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Oldstrand. We're back in minutes. Welcome back to the program. Our next guest, I think we've had, I can't even count the number of conversations that we've had with Patrick Sullivan from the Chamber of Commerce. And Patrick, you've got your annual dinner coming up, and this one's going to be a little bittersweet for you, is it not, as you're getting ready to move on to that the next challenge in your life?
Well, yes, it is, Dan. I'm disappointed, but obviously pleased that in my 9.5 years, we're continuing something that I started, that the Chamber started way back in 2016, and that was focusing again on local speakers, local businesses, / in this case, universities. So really presenting great information to people in Halifax about what's going on in our economy and how they can participate and benefit from it.
Don Bureau taking over, of course, from you, Patrick, in January, correct?
No, it's a little later now.
Okay.
So it'll be at the beginning of March.
Okay.
Yeah, so Don will be stepping in March, and we're all looking forward to him joining.
This annual fall dinner is being held at the Convention Center. It's bringing business leaders and those in the community together to focus on some of the important things that happen in our communities, and I don't think I'm too far out of class suggesting that universities play a significant role in the economies of not only Halifax, but a number of cities and towns here in Nova Scotia.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, we have 10 universities across Nova Scotia, and that doesn't include NSCC, which is another institution. There are multiple locations of higher learning as well. But yeah, those universities, even if we think just about Halifax, those universities, the people the students that go there, the staff that go there, have about $1.45 billion in combined total spending, students and research, that's added to the local and provincial economies. So yeah, it's a huge amount of spending and income for many people in our community.
How important is it to get these people in front of the business community so that do you think it's something that gets lost, that the economic impact that the universities have?
Yeah, I really do think it gets lost. That's a great way to put it. We sometimes hear things like, we have too many universities in Nova Scotia when we talk about 10. But I'll challenge you, Dan. Do you know how many universities are in Boston? Universities and colleges, because they call them that in Boston. I won't wait for you to answer, but there's 35. 35. And if we look to the greater Boston area, there's 50 universities and colleges. And I'll tell you, those folks in Boston and the Boston area have got it figured out, which is education contributes to the economy, and it contributes in so many ways. It's the students, it's the payments that they make that go to the university and then are funneled back to staff. It's the drive, I suppose, for those students who are spending export dollars, and I want to talk more about that. But export dollars in our economy, over $100 million in research grants, and research which powers our future economy. I mean, it's unbelievable when you think about it. But I do think, it's too easy for us to drive by St. Mary's or Dalhousie or Mount St. Vincent and think, there's some more students going into the university. We really should kind of do a bit of a deeper dive at times.
We've had conversations with Atlantic universities right from Cape Breton all the way to Wolfville to Antigonish and here in Halifax, and the tune that I'm hearing from them is that it's challenging times for the universities given some of the restrictions. International students is one of them, and a declining enrollment at others.
Well, yeah, that's very true. In fact, I just got off a call with Minister Alina Diab, who is the Minister of Immigration, and we were talking about that, talking about the number of foreign students. And although it sounds a bit dramatic, the cuts the announced cuts in the recent budget, to be perfectly honest, it's actually pretty much the same. In fact, we didn't get as many foreign students last year as we were allowed to. So when we look at the new number, which is about 155,000, it'll actually be we'll be able to actually increase the number of foreign students. So it's not as bad as it sounds for the coming year, but certainly a decline in foreign students have had an impact, which means we need to attract students from, we get 7,400 students from the rest of Canada to Halifax universities, and over 7,500 international students to the universities as well. So, big numbers coming into our area. And I think it is tough for universities, which is kind of why we're doing this. We want to let people know and remind them of the economic impact.
Patrick, I don't think we've had a conversation since the federal budget has dropped, and just to switch gears on you a little bit here.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on some of the things that you heard and you didn't hear in the federal budget?
Well, I think some of the things I heard, the accelerated tax deduction for businesses or to spend on, improving their equipment or improving their building. They'll be able to write that down more quickly. That's not very exciting or sexy, but it will make a difference. It will encourage businesses to invest, and I think that's a really positive thing. We need to improve productivity across Canada. That's one way to improve productivity, and that's great. The other big thing is defense spending. I mean, defense spending is going to go from about $20 billion, a year or so ago to $48 billion by 2030. And by 2035, it could be as much as $120 billion a year. And Nova Scotia has a disproportionate number of assets, in defense, and we have a disproportionate number of military personnel. And that's really going to help us. We're going to see raises for those staff. We're going to see investment in housing, and we're going to see a new equipment purchase, which a lot of it, again, will reside right here in Nova Scotia. And that's a great thing for us.
Patrick, dinner goes tonight, I do believe, right?
It does, yeah. We've got more people this year than we did last year at our fall dinner, so we're excited about it. Yeah, we'll have over 600 people learning more about universities. We're thrilled at the convention center.
Appreciate your time, sir. I know you're busy today.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
That is Patrick Sullivan, the CEO of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce. It will be an interesting session to hear from those university presidents. Very quickly, before we go to our break for an update on the news, and, of course, house calls on the other side of the news. I mentioned earlier in the show today that you never know when Vanessa walks by the prize cabinet. And we gave away tickets earlier today. Now we've got another pair of tickets. This one's a little different, though. This one is for the 15th of November. Moncton, the Wildcats are coming to town to play the Halifax Mooseheads. It's the rivalry to end all ages, is it not? Always a great game when the Wildcats come to town. It's a 3 o'clock start, so you can get on with the rest of your day after the game is over. And we've got a pair of tickets to give away. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Caller number 6 wins the tickets. Good luck. We're back after the news. Thanks, Blake. Coming up in 60 seconds, of course, it is time now for house calls. If you have a medical question, if you would like some advice from our doctor, here is an opportunity. And as we're getting deeper into that flu season and we're getting into the time of year when people are coming down with stuff, a perfect opportunity to get some advice on a Wednesday as you get into the latter half of November and we work towards the end of the year. The telephone number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. If you have a question for Dr. John Gillis, lines are wide open, and I will caution you to get your calls in early because we avoid disappointment that way. And that way you'll be sure to get your question answered. Vanessa just working away at getting Dr. John onto the line here as we move forward on a program. Don't forget, after 12 o'clock today, we're going to do the open hour just a little bit different. We have a jam-packed show today, so I wanted, and I think important to get some local perspective on the federal budget from last week, and we were able to secure an interview with the MP for Halifax, that being Shannon Medema, and she's going to join us just after noon today. We'll take up a few minutes of the open hour, but I think it will be important information to pass along to you to get her thoughts from the government side of the house on the budget and the after effects. So please bear with us. We'll take a few minutes of your time away from you on the open hour, but we'll make it good, I promise. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This is House Calls. He is Dr. John Gillis. Dr. John, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm going to go play Leafs goaltender now because Stollards can't stop the beach ball. But
apparently he's hurt now, right?
Well, something's going on. So, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
not pretty.
Interesting time in Leafland, and the pressure's on there because of the success of the Blue Jays. Now everybody's kind of going, well, how come the Maple Leafs, right?
How come the Maple Leafs stink? Yeah, no, I know. Trust me, I know.
It's tough things. Dr. John here for the next little while to answer your medical-related questions. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, like to kick off the show by getting an idea how things are out there, and how's the ER? A busy place, I assume?
Yeah, I was there yesterday doing a fairly rare daytime appearance. I get struck by lightning when I walk in, but I survived it. And it wasn't too bad. It's, as I've said many times, if we have places to see people and the lab and the imaging is able to keep up, yesterday was pretty smooth. It was, we saw a lot of people, but, the wait times were reasonable. But again, we weren't completely bed blocked. I mean, there were some beds on the major side, so we weren't getting all of those people on the minor side where I was. And when you have places to see people and you can, do your job efficiently, yesterday was a good one. Now I'm back tonight. Who bloody knows what's going to happen? So.
We heard the situation of bed blocking kind of raised its ugly head last week when we heard 70-hour wait times at Cobequid. That's kind of crazy. 70. Well,
that just seems impossible to me. Anyway. Never seen anything quite that high.
Go ahead.
12, if it hits 12, it should be an emergency. We become too numb to that if that's true. But I must say I didn't hear 70. But
I don't think it was wait times from the waiting room into the ER, but I think it was to get people out of the ER that need beds. I think was the number.
No, that makes more sense. In Cobequid, have a different setup. They often have to transfer people out as well. So yeah, it's for sure. We have people sitting in the ER for 2 to 3 days routinely.
Jeez, that's and it's not fun. I know I've known people that have been in the hallways there. It's not a lot of fun, is it?
Well, no, it's just not great patient care. The place is designed to deal with immediacy and urgency, and it's not designed for people's comfort. Not that it's a hotel, but when people are ill and trying to recover, they want some peace, they want some quiet, and the ER is 24/7 gong show, and it's hard to provide that, particularly if you're in the hallway, and it's tough. But again, we've become too immune to it, which I continue to find frustrating.
John, what are you seeing? Lots of viral stuff still, I would imagine, as we get into the flu season?
Not so much. Yesterday wasn't bad on the viral side. It was just kind of most of what we see is, frankly, is pain of some sort. A lot of orthopedic stuff yesterday, but belly pain, chest pain, back pain, neck pain, pain. So trying to deal with that. But, I would say yesterday, it's a snapshot, but,
right.
There was not a lot of viral stuff yesterday. Seemed all right.
Last week,
every day is different. Holidays have a different vibe to them.
Sure.
Maybe that's what it was.
Last week, Dr. John, we took an email or a call from somebody that was having trouble getting an appointment for a COVID shot or a flu shot, and had suggested that maybe there was a shortage. Have you heard anything about it?
I made a couple inquiries. They seem to be happening. It may have been that particular pharmacy was just out,
right,
or a couple were out, but I have not heard or seen anything to suggest that there's a complete shortage. But if anyone knows better, let me know.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. He's Dr. John Gillis. Dr. John, news story this week that Canada lost its measles status. I know that's something that you've been talking about here on the program a lot. I would imagine that is a bit of a kick in the gut for the medical community.
Well, it's just frustrating. It's unnecessary. It was basically eradicated, and now it's back. And it's back, for a simple reason that people stopped, vaccinating, and then we have, so the disease comes back, and then you have a cohort of people older who may have received only one MMR, mumps, measles, rubella vaccine, and it puts those people at risk as well. And we are, as we go and as we see people, anybody born after 1970. Is recommended, if you can't confirm that you've had two, to get a booster. And a lot of people are doing that, which is good. But it's very frustrating when, a problem has been eradicated and, suddenly it's back. And it's not benign. People think of measles as, little rash. And for the most part, that's what it is. But it kills people. There's a couple dead kids in Texas because of this. And it's tragic to watch.
Dr. John, what's the process? Can you book that through your family physician? Can you book that through the pharmacy? How does it work for a measles shot or a booster?
Yeah, so some vaccines are not available in the community. COVID is one of them. In my clinic, for example, we stock MMR, we stock flu, because we stock tetanus and a few others that we can get. So for most people, they'd be able to get a mumps, measles, rubella booster if they need it at their family doctor. If they don't stock it or they can't get it, pharmacies would have it as well. But again, it is important to think about. And the other side of it is, even if I'm somebody who hasn't had two shots, maybe I'm only going to get a mild case, but I might pass it on to a kid who unfortunately might be unvaccinated, might get quite sick. So we have to think about these things. Can
you do it all at once? We know we can do flu and COVID together. Can you do the booster shot as well, or does that have to go to a different?
Yeah, I think so. It's always, you lose track after a while, but most times they're compatible. When you're in to see your provider, they can double check that, or the pharmacy.
It's all one-stop shopping.
Ideally.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We're going to take a break. Dr. John's here to answer your medical-related questions. Lines, folks, wide open. So if you want to get on, you can get on quickly and get that question answered. Again, 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. House calls after the break. All right, welcome back. This is House Calls. Dr. John Gillis is in the house, as we would say. He's here to answer your medical-related questions. If you have a question, a concern, a query, here's an opportunity for you. Lines are wide open. You can get on very quickly and get on with your day. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, got an email from a listener that I think that you and I both can relate to, and it has to do with traveling on some of our airlines in this country. and the tight seats. It reads like this. It says, a few weeks ago I was on a plane and during turbulence, my knee went straight into the metal armrest in front of me. The writer says it hurt immediately. There was a dull ache that became throbbing on movement. He said I could bear weight, but I walked with a limp and couldn't get up or down stairs without pain. I could also stick my fingers into the front of my knee, depressing it a little bit, and then it hurt. I have, for the last 6 weeks, tried to keep off the leg as much as possible. I can now walk without pain, can bend most of a full range of motion, and it doesn't hurt at rest. I figured it was the patellar tendon that needed rest. I can now bear weight, though going up the stairs is sometimes painful. I can't raise my leg from lying down, and it takes concentration and effort to lift the leg from sitting. I can now kick forward with the leg, but only a limited amount before it starts to hurt. His question is, am I doing the right thing here, and how much time do I expect this is going to hurt, and what else can I do to speed up my recovery?
Yeah, I mean, all of that's very hard to predict or answer without seeing it. I mean, generally, the principles are the same. Ice, elevation, rest, anti-inflammatory medication or topicals like Voltaren. It may need a proper assessment, maybe by a physiotherapist, just to see, if it is in fact patellar tendon, and if it is, some local therapy, some needling, some ultrasound, some infrared may help. So I think generally yes, on the right track. I mean, been there myself. They jam in whatever joint of the week. Not talking about the marijuana store. In the rugby season, might be my shoulder, might be my knee, might be my hip, hit the ground, hold, hurts, but get up and keep moving and do the conservative thing. So most of the time it is soft tissue, it settles down, but again, it depends on the degree of area that's affected and what have you. But it sounds like our friend is on the right track.
It's interesting. It's not to that extent. But in traveling on certain airlines where it's kind of a cattle car in the back there, I've had bruising on my knees just based on the way that those seats are set up. And I imagine you're taller than I am, so that must be tough for you too.
I do my very best not to sit back there.
You shouldn't get hurt when you're just traveling, right? If it's just a regular flight.
Not. I'm gonna get grief for that comment. But, anyway. I do my best to get the complimentary upgrades because I fly a lot.
Yeah, no doubt. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Another email here, Dr. John said, hi, Dr. John. I went to the doctor last week, got prescribed, and I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, ciprofloxacin for my outer ear infection. My dosage is 4 drops twice a day. I took the first dose when I got home, and is it okay to put another dose of drops in my ear before I go to bed or around 12 a.m., or should I wait until the morning?
Should follow the directions on it. So if it says once a day, do once a day. If it says twice a day, do twice a day. That's an antibiotic, and it should be, follow the directions is the answer.
The ear infections, are those a wintertime thing, or does that happen all around the year?
Well, it happens year-round. I think, people are more likely to get respiratory infections in the winter, which, are correlated with ear infections, congestion, fluid backing up into the ears. This is a topic we spend a fair bit of time on in the ER and trying to educate, particularly parents of young kids who, it's very common to have ear pain, fluid in the ears. Sometimes they do get infected. Our mantra is treat the pain, treat the fever, and frankly, most of the time, the backup and or infection will resolve itself without antibiotics. And I think that message is slowly getting out there, the risk of antibiotic resistance. I mean, one of my kids had, ear pain as a kid. I had terrible ear infections my whole childhood. I had tubes, the whole thing, and I probably, was on every antibiotic known to humanity. But, trying to keep kids away from it, is important. My daughter, I think, needed it once, just wouldn't go away. But most of the time, you really focus on the pain control and the fever control, they do go away. Cipro, if we're talking about a drop, which is, I think, what we were, is more for an outer ear infection, what we call otitis externa. That's a little bit different. That's where the outer canal gets infected. It's not the middle ear, which is what we call otitis media.
Is there a prevention? Can we do anything to prevent ear infections, or is this something that just happens?
Not really. No, I wouldn't say so. Move to Grand Cayman and live a life of leisure on the beach. But no, I mean, better climate generally, with warm weather, less likely to have upper respiratory infections. But other than that, not really.
And speaking of infections, Dr. John, a couple of people have approached me here and said that these wild swings in temperatures and weather conditions that we've had are doing their sinuses in. Are temperature swings something that can induce a sinus infection, or is this something else?
It's hard to say. I mean, some people feel that way. I mean, I think the idea is you get a change in temperature, you get a change in blood flow. It may cause swelling, that sort of thing. So theoretically, yes. I think it more has to do with the fact that we're around respiratory virus season when it's cold, and that the two together lead to the problem.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255 is the number. Another email question. Dr. John says, "Hi, I've been dealing with a strange skin issue for a long time. My skin has this white flaky material on it, and when I rub the area, the white stuff comes off, especially during a shower. It's been bothering me for quite some time. Also have a lot of pores, and my skin tends to look red most of the time. Any advice or any suggestions would be appreciated."
Yeah, I think the starting point is moisture. And there's a lot of stuff out there. Talk to your pharmacist about a good moisturizer. If that's not cutting it, you want to make sure you don't have, a more advanced eczema or psoriasis condition where you might need some medication, some treatment for it. But I would probably start with moisturizers. Talk to the pharmacist, and if this has been ongoing for years, it might take a minute. Get in queue for a dermatology referral.
There's a million different moisturizers out there, right? It's impossible to try and at least for me, wade through them all to try and figure out which one's the correct one to use.
I mean, it's like that with a lot of things. I mean, you go in and look for vitamins or supplements or anything, and you're like, good God, it's just hard to sit through it all. So, no, I agree. But, again, pharmacists are a great resource for these things.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. This one more along the pain lines, Dr. John says, "I received a steroid injection last week due to constant elbow pain. I was wondering if there's a way that I can avoid this tennis elbow in the future, because I don't like to get injections."
Yeah, so, I mean, the idea of term tennis elbow is that the elbow gets irritated from the action of swinging a tennis racket. So it's the outside of the elbow, what we call the lateral epicondyle. So it may not be tennis, but it's typically repetitive strain. Something that you're doing is causing that outside of the elbow to get irritated. So at the risk of being cheeky or stating the obvious, if you try to identify what the activity is and see if you can minimize that. Now, often that's not possible, whether it's work or, typing, we don't want to stop our leisure activities. But, trying to identify what it might be, and then looking at when doing such an activity, perhaps wearing a brace, looking at taking some anti-inflammatories in advance of that, to see if you can minimize. Rest is often the best treatment along with an injection, and if you can get the pain settled down and manage your workload of whatever's causing it, then hopefully it won't come back. So that's usually how we approach it.
I see a lot of people, Dr. John, at the gym or wherever else with braces on a lot of joints. Does that bracing actually work, or is it a placebo effect, or is it effective?
I mean, if it's done right, I mean, it needs to be functional. So, I mean, if your medial collateral ligament in your knee, the ligament on the inside is torn or weak, you need something that's going to support that. If you have a kneecap that's out of place or that's loose, you need something that's going to keep that. So it really is strategic. Sometimes people just buy something because their knee hurts, and maybe it'll help, maybe it won't. It needs to be guided by what the diagnosis is. I mean, I tore my thumb in May, had surgery on it. I wore a thumb splint that immobilized my thumb while I rehabbed it. It's pretty much back to normal, but it protected it and also functionally immobilized that joint so it could heal. And that's really the key, is making sure that if you are wearing a brace or a splint, that it's doing what you want it to do, and it's not just a piece of padding that's sitting there.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. House Calls continues right after the news. All right, welcome back. This is House Calls. The number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Again, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, another email question for you. Email seems to be quite popular these days for whatever reason. Anyway, it reads, I recently had a kidney stone attack, and then in brackets said that was fun, while traveling to Portugal, which has since passed, thankfully. Clinic over there gave me a CT scan to confirm, and since coming back home, my doc wants an x-ray to see if there could be more. Why the difference, and is one scan better than the other?
Yeah, so a CT scan is far better. It's computerized axial tomography. It's a three-dimensional scan of whatever we're looking at. In this case, the abdomen, but looking specifically at the kidneys and the tube that goes from the kidneys to the bladder, which is called the ureter. So stones leave the kidney, try to travel down the ureter, often get stuck, hence the pain, and then try to make it out through the bladder. They can get stuck in the tube, they can get stuck where they get to the bladder, they can get stuck leaving the bladder. And a lot of that depends on size. If you had a CAT scan, hopefully whoever did that CAT scan gave you the report. Now, it might be in Portuguese, but you can get that translated. I can have a go at it. I can read Portuguese okay. But that scan would show, if other stones are in the kidney. Now, an X-ray is not very sensitive. I mean, it may show some sitting there. The reality is that most of us probably have a little stone here or there sitting in our kidneys. They just don't necessarily, well, maybe not most, but many of us, they just don't necessarily go anywhere. So it's not necessarily most helpful information. You don't see, that stone there. Look, that guy's looking pretty agitated. He's probably going to head out and cause a kidney stone attack. There's no real way to predict that. Now, look, if you've got 10 huge stones in your kidneys, the odds of you having another attack are probably fairly high. But again, back to the CAT scan. If you had a CAT scan, that's the better test. Get a hold of that report, and that should presumably say, would say where the stone was at the time, but presumably they looked at the kidneys and say, look, this is what we saw in the kidneys at the time. So I would focus on tracking down that report. Another X-ray, not super helpful. It may or may not show evidence of stones, but it's not three-dimensional. You may see a calcification that looks like a stone, could be something else. Doesn't really correlate well with what we do to treat people or what happens next.
Is passing stones the only way that you can get rid of them, Dr. John, or is there medication? How does that work?
Well, no, you pass them or have them removed or blown up, by ultrasound. The Star Trek technology is not there just yet.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. This hour is always very informative. I learn a lot. Didn't know you could read Portuguese.
I can read Spanish, and it's close enough. So
fair enough. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255 is the number. This is related to the ear question we were talking about earlier. Dr. John said, I recently had an MRI for numbness, tingling, and pain in my arms and hands. After seeing the doctor and scheduling a steroid injection, though, it occurred to me that perhaps my other symptoms are related. About 5 years ago, I've been experiencing chronic tinnitus. 2.5 years ago, my ear fullness was so bad that it was really affecting my hearing, so I got tubes put in. That was great for the first year, but now my ears seem to drain often but feel full, and my hearing continues to worsen. Sometimes fluid runs out one or both, so much that I need a cotton ball in it through the day. This often leads to an ear infection. Also, about 2 years ago, I developed burning mouth and tongue. Now, it's not my whole mouth, though, not the roof, more the cheeks and the side. It varies in intensity and sometimes is downright painful. Happens daily, but never upon waking. I'm wondering if all of these are connected, or are these all separate maladies?
It's a very hard question to answer. I mean, in general, arm pain, that's caused from, nerve impingement in the neck, which is probably what the MRI was for, it's hard to relate that to, tinnitus and, ear drainage. I think that's probably completely separate. Mouth pain is very nonspecific. There's a lot of different causes of it. It theoretically, could relate to a high cranial nerve or a cervical nerve problem, but that's very unlikely. So the answer is probably not. Again, I don't know what the neck scan showed, but it's hard to relate neck and arm pain to ears draining and tinnitus.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Tanya to the show. Tanya, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Quick question. I do manual labor on a daily basis, and I've recently, within the past couple of months, have pulled something. It's in between my breast, so it's my breastbone or my sternum. And whenever I move, I know, Dr. Gillis, don't move your arms if it hurts, but I have to move my arms. What can I do? It's like it's a pulled muscle. Anyway, I don't know what to do for it.
Like in
the front, right in between like under my breastbone, right in the middle.
Yeah, now if it's at the edge of the breastbone, it's often what we call costochondritis, which is an inflammation of where the ribs join the sternum of the breastbone, and that's fairly common. Anti-inflammatory pills can help with that. Local topical anti-inflammatories like Voltaren, I've got a tube on my desk here, can help that. Rarely we inject those things. I don't like sticking needles in the chest per se because there's a lot going on there, but that can help. But usually it's conservative management, anti-inflammatory creams or pills, and sometimes local physio, whether it be needling, ultrasound, infrared, different modalities to treat it. As you said, rest is the best treatment, but when you got to go, you got to go. And, I'd be a hypocrite. I'll play rugby if I can't walk, or some would say I can't. That's my baseline. But sometimes you just got to do it, and you try to manage the best. So those are my suggestions.
Best of luck, Tanya. Appreciate the call. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Those kinds of injuries when you work in the manual labor field, Dr. John, tough to rest those muscles, right?
Well, yeah, that's it. I mean, we forget that folks are out there working hard on a day-to-day basis, and they can't just take a day. So, doing your work and your activities in the most ergonomic fashion, meaning be careful with how you lift, how you do things, to try and prevent further problems. But sometimes that's easier said than done. And look, there's a lot of folks out there work very hard, and they don't have the luxury of a day off here or there. They don't have short or long-term disability, and they sometimes struggle to get through it. So, hats off to all the people who work hard and keep us going. Just get some anti-inflams into you, maybe check with a physio, and hopefully things will settle down for you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Back to the email bag. This one reads, I noticed a little skin tag a few months ago. It was on my right calf. Ever since I noticed, it hasn't grown or changed its format at all. For me, it looks like a small scar, but I reminded myself of skin cancer, and now I can't stop thinking about it. I feel a little silly asking this question because I know it's probably nothing, but I'm a really anxious person. It would help make me feel more at ease if you could tell me if this is all right, if this is normal, or if I should go get it checked.
Well, see, this is the problem, right? Medicine on the radio, despite the advances in technology, we can't see stuff.
Right.
Ultimately, any skin lesion, it probably is a skin tag, which is a benign raised lesion. But if you're concerned about it, you need someone to take a look at it to say, yes, that's a skin tag, that's benign. Don't worry about it. There's no, there are apps online that are, getting increasingly reliable with this, but I still recommend getting something checked, particularly if you're an anxious person, to make sure that that's what it is and that it's benign. So, it probably is. If it's raised and it's like a little ball, that's probably a skin tag. And acrocordon, I can never say that, but that's the fancy word for it. But always get it checked especially if you're anxious.
I have skin tags myself, and there are these. Have you seen those kits? Obviously, you've seen the kits that are out there. Is it smart to remove skin tags yourself, Dr. John?
Well, again, it's fine unless you're concerned that it's something else. So if you're quite concerned and this is a common thing for you and someone said, yes, those are skin tags, those are benign, there's no great harm in using the home kits. Just want to be sure that that's what you're dealing with.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. House Calls continues right after this break. All right, welcome back. Just a few minutes left here in our visit with Dr. John. The number is 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. We'll go right to the phones and welcome John to the program. John, how are you?
Not too bad. And I'd like to ask the good doctor a question. A few years ago, I had this attack with vertigo. So I went down to the emergency ward, and the doctor was excellent. He gave me an exercise, which I think it's called the epi exercise, and it got rid of it for me. Now, that was a long time ago. Now it has come back again in the last couple of months. And I've done the epi, that exercise again to get rid of those crystals out of the channel, and it did help, but it didn't get rid of it completely like it did before. And so I'm still encountering when I turn my head a certain way to the left or the right where I'm getting, of course, disorientated. And sometime it was at the beginning, it was really bad. So I started doing that exercise and it did help quite a bit. And it's not as severe as it used to be, but it's still there. Any suggestions?
Well, a couple things. That's EPLEY, E-P-L-E-Y maneuver. Good memory. I would say a couple things. Vertigo is often, temporal, meaning it'll settle down with time on its own. You try the maneuver yourself, and, sometimes that works. Sometimes you need someone to help you with it. So you may need, whether it's whoever did it the first time, your own doctor, physio, somebody to help you do it to make sure you're, doing it properly. And, that's, I guess what I'm getting at is you may need to try it again, but with a little bit of assistance, if that makes sense.
Thanks for the call, John. Appreciate it. Going to move on. We have lots of calls to get through here. Let's welcome Jeff to the show. Jeff, how are you?
Yes, good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Dr. Gillis, how much confidence do you have in, after a hernia surgery, inserting the mesh?
So, I would say a lot of confidence. There are sometimes they get infected. Rarely there are nerve irritations, but thousands and thousands of these get done every day with no problem. I've got a mesh in my my belly button around my 2-pack. I had an umbilical hernia and there's a mesh in there, and it's been fine. Now again, my experience is not everybody's, but again, thousands of these get done every day. Some of them get done with mesh, some of them don't. It really is a matter of talking to the surgeon and determining what's right for you. But I have confidence in either approach, and some of it depends on the nature of the hernia, where it is, what you're experiencing, and the other local factors like muscle, fat, whatever the case may be. But the simple answer is I've got a lot of confidence in it. Can there be problems like with any surgery? Absolutely. But again, thousands and thousands get done successfully.
Hope that helps, Jeff. Appreciate it. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Dr. John, you mentioned your 2-pack. You're that much further ahead of me. I'm the keg.
Yeah, well, it comes and goes, doesn't it?
It certainly does. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. To the phones, we welcome Eric to the show. Eric, how are you?
I'm good, man. How about yourself?
Good.
Dr. John, I was recommended to take a statin, Rosvu statin. I think it's spelled Rosvuvastatin. I'm probably not spelling it right. Anyways, I was told that it would stabilize plaque. Now, I'm wondering, I didn't like what I read in from the pharmacist. It says that sometimes the statin can cause confusion and memory. Is this statin something that you can take to lower your cholesterol and then you can just stop using it, or what's the story on it?
Yeah, I mean, you can stop using it
anytime you want. If you stop using it, it'll stop lowering your cholesterol. This is one of the most common medications out there. I'm not sure why they focused on confusion. I've never seen someone get confused from being on rosuvastatin or any other statin. The more common complaint in the past was muscle cramps with these drugs, but the newer formulations, that's very uncommon. I think, maybe in the last 5 years I've seen one person complain of side effects from it, and it was dose dependent, and it was, you stopped the drug, the side effects went away. So, to me, these drugs are no-brainers. The side effects are very uncommon, and if you have side effects, you simply stop them. So, the benefit in reducing, cardiovascular risk and the risk of stroke and heart attack is significant, and that's why we use them.
Thanks for the call, Eric. Appreciate it. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. One more email question, Dr. John, before we let you go for the week. It reads this: I have a family history of headaches or migraines. I'm not sure if what I'm going through is a migraine or just a bad headache. Sometimes when I have these headaches, my vision gets really weird. I have trouble focusing or getting to sleep at night, but it's odd because my head never really hurts, and when it hits me gradually. My mom had similar issues and her headaches were so bad that she ended up with stroke-like symptoms, which were very scary. Is there a difference between a bad headache and a migraine?
It's a hard question to answer. I mean, what's a bad headache?
Right.
If I kick you in the head, your head hurts. Is that a bad headache? Migraines, can fool us because the classic is pain on one side, nausea, bothered by light and sound. There can be some vision problems. Some people don't have any pain. They get nausea, like waves over their vision, blurred vision. Some people present with, facial numbness or other numbness, which can be quite scary. I get them rarely. I might get one a year. And they usually present as, I just feel like, somebody drugged me. I feel dopey. I've got like wavy lines across my vision, and I feel really, really nauseated. And it usually just stops on its own. Usually for me, Advil, big dose of Advil will take it away. But everybody's different. So the thing with headaches is we recommend getting checked. If you have new headaches that you've never had before, or if you've noticed a major change in the headache, it's worth getting checked. And the other thing, of course, we talk about we use the term thunderclap headache. Suddenly one second you're fine, the next minute it feels like something shot you in the face. A 10 out of 10 headache, we call that a thunderclap headache. That sometimes it's nothing, but it can be a sign of a serious thing like an aneurysm. So anything like that is worse as a stroke. Generally, the principle is if it's worse or it's new, get it checked, and that sounds like it is the case here. It may just well be an atypical migraine, like we talked about. The kind that I get. But I've had cluster headaches before where I thought someone was taking a drill to my eye. And, I don't wish that upon my worst enemy.
Is it normal, Dr. John? You mentioned with one of the symptoms of a migraine is pain on one side. Is it normal for that pain to on a different headache be on the different side of your head, or is it always in the same spot?
No, it can be different. Everybody's sort of different. But you can get, sometimes people have migraines, the pain travels, it's on both sides. Again, this is the problem with it. There's no cookie cutter. People present very differently. So you look at the worrisome signs, and then you try and rule out the bad stuff, and then you go from there to try and treat it and make people feel better.
I just stopped watching Leaf games. I don't get headaches anymore.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
Dr. John, appreciate your time, sir.
Read politics.
Well, I can't get away from that doing this job, that's for sure. Anyway, man, I appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Sounds good. Bye-bye.
That is Dr. John Gillis, our resident physician here, who's here every Wednesday from 11 until 12. Politics might be something you want to discuss. We're going to do the open hour today at noon. We're going to do it just a little bit different this time because we managed to secure an interview with the MP for Halifax. Shanna Medema will be joining us right after the break to give us her thoughts on the federal budget. And then we'll open up the telephone lines on the other side of that. You're listening to the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand. We're back in minutes. All right, welcome back to the Midweek Wednesday edition of the Todd Veinotte Show. I'm Dan Alstrand, as I mentioned before the break, and for those of you just joining us now, this is our traditional time for the open hour, and we are going to do that, but we were fortunate enough to secure an interview with the MP for the Halifax area, and we have slotted that in here now, so we'll get to the open hour after we get through with our conversation with our next guest, and that is Shannon Medema. Shannon, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Thanks for spending some time with us today. Of course, all of the discussion in Ottawa as of late has been the federal budget, and of course, that got dropped last week. I guess the very first question to kind of set the stage here, Shannon, is what were your thoughts on the federal budget, and what does it mean for your riding of Halifax?
Yeah, thanks for that. I'm actually really excited about this budget. I think it's really meeting the moment that we are in as a nation right now. I think it's strategic. I think it's solutions oriented. And I think it actually has amazing opportunities for us here in Halifax and in Nova Scotia, from things like housing, defense, clean energy, and so much more.
Some criticism of the budget, Shannon, was there was no immediate relief for people that are suffering for going to the grocery store and looking to find ways to make ends meet. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I'd say that there's ongoing and commitment to continuing relief that's really important, like the National School Food Program being made permanent, like continuing the supports for healthcare, pharmacare, dental care, things like that. You know, we had the tax cut. We have savings for first-time home buyers, all those types of programs. I think really this budget had to reconcile needing to spend less to invest more, and really needing to drive our economy forward, but at the same time keeping those really important social safety nets in place.
Lots of long-term goals in the budget. Is that fair to say?
Pardon me?
Lots of long-term strategic planning in the budget. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone is always looking for a silver bullet and a magical solution to these really hard problems, and unfortunately, they do take time. But I'm really optimistic that this is the right plan, and it's going to really move our nation forward.
Obviously, one of the big money ticket items was defense. Any indication how much of that $81 billion is going to be spent here?
I mean, I couldn't tell you the number, but I'm very confident that we're going to have really great spin-offs from all of this. We have over 10,000 Canadian Armed Forces members in Halifax alone. We have a huge industry here, and we're really one of the big players nationally to be able to reinvest in our armed forces. And it's also really important to highlight that we're also really supporting the people themselves and their families through the commitments made by this government in terms of providing proper health care, mental wellness, social services, and things like that.
Also included in the budget, as I understand it, is a bit of a change to benefits from Veterans Affairs, going to bring the calculation into line with the rest of the federal bureaucracy. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did read that, and I'm interested to learn more details because I don't really know exactly what that's going to mean. But it sounds like an alignment, so I'll have to dig in more on that.
Shannon, the Prime Minister in the region earlier this week up in Fredericton and suggesting that the next list of major projects is going to be released, I guess, tomorrow. Any inside information if perhaps our Wind West project's in there?
I wish I had insider information. I don't. However, from what I'm quite familiar with the Wind West opportunity, and I think that there are probably some pieces that need to fall into place still before it becomes an actual listed project. But I think it's tracking really well.
It got mentioned in the budget, though.
It absolutely did. Yes.
Your thoughts on where we go from here and some of the things that have been highlighted, the issues with housing and with affordability. What can the federal government do to help people who are struggling, as I mentioned earlier, to make ends meet?
Yeah, I think this Build Canada Homes initiative is going to be obviously critical, and I'm excited to be hearing about some of the potential projects here and across the province. I also think, keeping the services we have in place and really supporting the organizations that provide the wraparound services is also important. In the budget, there's a big focus on community infrastructure investment as well, and being able to really support at the local level things like stormwater infrastructure, pieces that you need in place to really build out a community and have everything in place. So I think there's a lot of pieces across the budget that are going to support this going forward.
Shannon, I know you're busy. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much. Nice to talk to you.
That is the MP for Halifax, Shannon Medema, on the federal budget. I think the federal government's going to have a larger than usual sell job on this budget. And the reason why I say that is new data came out today that says recent polling suggesting the budget fell flat with Canadians when it came to the cost of living crunch. I asked the question twice. Leger survey released this week showed only 15% of respondents expected last week's budget to have a positive impact on their household, while more than twice that number are expecting a negative hit. Polling does show 42% of respondents were on board with the Liberals' approach of prioritizing long-term investments over short-term affordability pain, but pollster Andrew Enns argues that this isn't a budget the Liberals will want to run an election campaign on because affordability will likely be a bigger concern for Canadians than it was in the spring. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to throw open those telephone lines. In fact, we're going to do that now. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Time for the open hour. Lots to talk about. It is wide open. That's the regular rules of the open hour. If you want to chat about something that's on your mind, here's an ample opportunity. I mentioned off the top of the show today that I still find it to be an absolute shame that Remembrance Day is not a federal stat. We're lucky in Nova Scotia that, for the most part, most people had the day off yesterday, but a lot of Canadians don't. And do you think that should change? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The open hour after the break. Welcome back. As I lose my voice. Can you tell it's been a bit of a weird week already? And the reason why I say that is it's not normal that we have a Tuesday where we don't have a show. So it's been throwing the vibe off, I will say, for the entire day for both me and for Vanessa, who, of course, as always, doing a fantastic job on the other side of the glass. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Your opportunity to talk about whatever it is on your mind. This is the open hour, the Mid-Week Meltdown, as it's been called in the past. There's plenty of things out there to talk about. That veteran story, really interesting, and find it curious that our conversation with the Liberal MP for Halifax didn't know a whole lot about that. And that's the problem with these budgets. They're so large, right? There's so much involved, and I think it was 409 pages was the budget, and little things like this get dwarfed by big projects like the military spending that Shannon Medema was going on about, how transformational that could be for Halifax. The interesting part about that, to me, reading some of the reporting in the aftermath of the budget, somebody said that it's going to ensure the lifespan of the River-class destroyer project in Halifax, right? So, and that's a good thing. Don't get me wrong. That's a wonderful thing. It's great for our economy. The Irving Yard's going to be making ships down there for a long time, and that's going to employ a lot of people. It's going to increase the tax base. We know the whole story. But A, was it ever in doubt? I know that the number of ships was in doubt. And B, is that going to count towards this $80 billion that's been announced in spending? That's what I worry about, is that we're going to tell everybody we're going to spend all this money on the military, but we're just going to either re-announce things or lump other projects that were already underway into this supposed to be new spending. It's that's what I worry about, and we know the procurement process within the military is a bit of a puzzle at the best. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We'll start off with Tyler. Tyler, how are you?
Good, Dan. How are you?
I'm all right for a Wednesday.
Yeah. I was going to say, how's your Midweek Friday going?
It's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels very strange every time there's a holiday in the middle of the week there.
What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah, well, I'm just calling. So I was listening on Monday there with the counselors on the hot seat, and it was an interesting program for sure. There was the one counselor from, I believe it's 14, the Hammonds Plains guy there.
Counselor Young. Yep.
Yeah, and I don't remember the other one's name.
It was a counselor for Virginia Hinch, counselor for North End Halifax.
That's it, right. So it was a pretty good, pretty good program. But it was, I believe, Chris had called in and was, kind of going on with what he goes on with, asking the counselors questions, and he had brought up a thing, and I got to listen back, but I believe he asked the woman there. Sorry, again, I can't remember her name, but about this budget issue or whatever it was, and she goes, "Well, I don't really know about that," and then he kind of continued talking, and then he says, "Well, you seconded it during the last session."
Yep.
She goes, "Well, yes, I did," and I thought to myself, "Hold on a second, how inept are our counselors that somebody who's seconding a motion doesn't know what the motion is?"
It's a very interesting question, isn't it?
That it seemed absurd to me, and you kind of wonder why things get a little abrasive during that segment. Sometimes it's because the people that are listening, sometimes the counselors, and not all of them, certainly not that the one from District 14 there, but sometimes the counselors on there, they just kind of have like an apathetic attitude, sort of a holier than thou sort of a takedown on things. And then once I heard that with where she said I don't know, and then he says, "Well, you seconded the motion." She goes, "Well, yeah, but it just it makes you wonder." I'm not as very involved in local politics as maybe I should be or would like to be, but it certainly makes you think. I'm just thoughts are on that.
Well, it certainly was something that raised an eyebrow. I can tell you that, It's been very interesting throughout the entire budget debate, and I don't know if this is normal behavior that counselors don't know going into this thing because they haven't got the beginning. They're starting their debate on the budget, I think, the end of this week or the beginning of next. I don't know if they have their budget, and I'm putting quotes around this, book is in front of them, but it is always very, very interesting to me when they get asked a question or I ask a question about dollars and cents, and they seem to struggle to get that answer. If you're the board of a company and somebody asks you a budget question, you probably should know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not exactly an eloquent or comprehensive speaker, and I don't know if I would expect other people to be, but during the last election, you kind of got the idea that some of these counselors and stuff were just kind of putting their name on the ballot and getting their face out on a piece of Bristol board that's hanging on somebody's lawn, and now that they're there, it kind of feels like they're scrambling, and I'm just hoping that whenever the next election comes around, that people are paying attention, and we need to have people in there that not only want to be there but are educated and do a really good job, which I'm feeling like the current council might not be exactly that.
Tyler, appreciate the call, sir.
Thank you very much.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. That is the number. You can chat about whatever it is on your mind. Talk about the budget. You want to talk about the federal budget. You want to talk about your Remembrance Day services yesterday. That's the beauty of the open hour, and we'll take all callers. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That's the number. We'll go to the phones and welcome Wayne to the show. Wayne, how are you?
Good day, sir. How are you?
I am well. What's on your mind?
I'm not sitting in the garage having a cigar with my dogs. I'm on my way home talking to the radio.
Okay. Well, that's at least as long as you're paying attention to the road.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Well, for the last 33 years, I've been trying to keep track of what Veterans Affairs is up to, especially the minister and the deputy minister and the ombudsman and all those people involved.
Mm-hmm.
With this thing here, they're not giving us much information on it, that's for sure. So I'm hoping that something's going to come out in some of the veterans' Facebook pages, because sometimes those guys up in Ottawa that are veterans advocates, sometimes they'll pick up stuff and post it.
Yep.
So that's what I'm hoping. But what I didn't like was
sure, go ahead.
When on CBC yesterday, when they asked, I can't remember who the minister was, they asked her how this was going to affect veterans, whether they're going to get less money or is it going to stay the same. Or she couldn't answer anything. So that kind of spooked me, and I didn't like that. With regards to Remembrance Day being a federal holiday, I totally agree with you. It should be.
Absolutely, it should be. If there's a day that should be across the country, it should be Remembrance Day, I would think.
You would think. The one thing I want to mention is when it came to the new Veterans Charter that we fought nail and tooth to get rid of, and now they got the Veterans Wellbeing Act and Pain and Suffering for Life, is the Liberals started it, the Conservatives finished it off by getting all four of the Conservatives, the Liberals, the NDP, and the Bloc to sign it into power. But thank God, with all the veterans across the country fighting the government to not do this lump sum thing, it was Peter MacKay that was, I think, Minister of Veterans Affairs at the time, and he didn't totally get rid of the lump sum payout, but he came out with a few, like the additional pain and suffering, the IRB and stuff like that. So there are veterans out there that we keep an eye on it. We try to understand what the government is doing to us. And right now on that subject, there's not much out there at all. And I'm dying to find out how this is going to go.
Well, Wayne, when you do, let us know, all right?
Okay, buddy. If I find out, I'll definitely get it to you. Cheers. Have a good day.
That is what we're here for. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. A couple of questions that Wayne had during his call. The current Minister of Veterans Affairs is Jill McKnight. And the changes, in case you don't know what we're talking about, according to the budget, which was introduced on the 4th of November, there's a proposal to modify the indexing of the formula so it's calculated solely based on consumer price index or the cost of living. So the way that raises, for lack of a better term, increases is probably a better one. To veterans benefits is calculated has been a little bit different. The veterans fought for this back in the 80s, and it's been ever since. Up to this point, the benefits annual increase has been calculated using either CPI, the cost of living increase, or the average of a basket of public service salaries, whichever is greater. So they take a bunch of groups that are currently employed within the federal civil service, different departments, different bargaining units, and they take their increases, and I would imagine they would average that. So if there's a half a dozen, they take the average increase on that. And if it's more than what the Stats Canada cost of living increase is, that's what the increase for the veterans benefits would be. At least that's the way that it was. Federal government now wants to change that and base it solely on CPI, which could have an impact on the amount of increase that veterans benefits see moving forward in the future. But like Wayne, I still don't know a whole lot about it. That's the best that I've been able to come up with thus far. And if somebody out there is listening and has a better idea of what this means, by all means, give us a call. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues right after the news. Welcome back. The open hour continues. The telephone lines are open, and folks, they're wide open right now. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. That's the number. If you want to get in, here's a golden opportunity to do so, to talk about whatever it is on your mind. as we roll forth on a Wednesday. That has been Wednesday, Friday, as our first caller called it today. It has been a bit different with having the Tuesday off midweek. It happens on not often. I mean, Canada Day is one of those ones where we can have it midweek, and it kind of breaks the week up. And I know a lot of you perhaps took Monday off to couple that with the Tuesday, and I think that several people have taken the entire week off. So it's been pretty quiet out there, but not as quiet as it was on Monday, looking out the window here onto Roby Street and seeing some cars there. So I'm assuming that things are getting back to normal. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We welcome Gary to the program. Gary, how are you?
Hey there. I'm just wanted to bring your attention to out in St. Margaret's Bay, the road construction that's going on out there. They're holding people up for like 45 minutes.
On St. Margaret's Bay Road?
And Peggy's Cove Road, and it's been going on for weeks.
Really?
And people have been complaining to the city, complaining to the province, but the province runs this road and the city runs this road.
Right.
And the flagging company's hired by the paving company, and nobody's in charge. And meanwhile, school buses can't get through. People are late for appointments. People are late for work. And if you've ever been through that part of the area, that little intersection of the Peggy's Cove Road and the Hammonds Plains Road and the St. Margaret's Bay Road is pretty busy.
It is.
And it's been going on for weeks. And it's completely unacceptable to be held up for 45 minutes. And especially if you got to go there and then turn around and come back, people are taking upwards of 2 hours just to go to the pharmacy.
Might even be quicker to go the other way, right? Right around down to around Peggy's Cove Way.
It's ridiculous.
Right.
There's no coordination and passing the buck, and nobody's responding, and it's an entire community that's basically being held hostage by these construction projects that have been going on for months.
Do you know what they're doing on the road, Gary? What are they? Is it down to a single lane, or what are they doing?
A little bit of everything: paving, culverts, ditches, it's everything.
All right. Well,
but it's aggravating, and I wish somebody would take some leadership and clean it up, but nobody is. It's just, meanwhile, everyone suffers.
Gary, appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
Cheers.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. The counselor for the area likely listening to the show today, and I know that there is, and I do stand to be corrected, but I do believe that there are rules that have to be followed when you, particularly on a municipally owned road. I get it that part of it's not, but part of it is. For those kind of things, and we'll certainly pass that along here on the program. Again, the telephone number is 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome Ben to the show. Ben, how are you?
I'm well. How you doing, George?
I'm all right. What's up?
I just heard that guy complaining, and it kind of sounds a little exaggerated. I mean, I was through that already this morning, and let me tell you, I flew through there in about 5-10 minutes, no issues at all.
Did they stop you at all?
Yeah, they did. And then it's like they have protocol that they have to follow in order to get the job done. And I don't know. I just wanted to give you a call to straighten it out because I didn't have any issues, and I've never heard of any issues. And the work needs to get done. This is the thing. It's like you got people calling in complaining about the work that's holding them up, and all they got to do is, it's been going on for a little while. All Buddy has to do is get up a little bit earlier, and then maybe even beat the traffic. And it's like these poor people are out there trying to get a job done in order to make the infrastructure passable for the public, and we got idiots like this calling in and complaining, and I don't know, it just doesn't look good.
Well, we don't want to call anybody an idiot for calling into the show, that's for sure. Ben, what time of day did you go through there?
Oh, it was early in the morning.
So it was during morning rush?
That's right.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, okay, you take care.
902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. That is the number. Construction, right? It's Ben raises an interesting point that, we complain about the state of our roads. When the roads are in construction, to fix the state of our roads, we complain about the construction. I think it's that vicious circle Sometimes I feel that sometimes that when we have people complain and I don't know this for sure with regards to this issue, but I feel that sometimes the times and length of delays are somewhere in the middle there. But if you're being held up for 15 or 20 or 35 or 40 minutes because of construction, I get it how you can get frustrated. I get held up every day driving in here on the 102 for 10 or 15 or 20 minutes, and that's nothing to do with construction. It's just to do with that pinch point at Romans Avenue that pushes traffic all the way back, and the pinch point at Northwest Arm Drive, which is now Dunbrack Street, right? And there's no construction there, so I feel it. I get it. I understand it. It can be absolutely frustrating when you're in your car. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Let's welcome, it's Gloria. Gloria, how are you?
I'm great, Dan. How are you?
I am well. Were you out at Sullivan's Pond yesterday?
No, I disappoint. I didn't get out to stand around there for an hour. My legs don't take it anymore.
Understood. Absolutely.
So I watched it and stood up for O Canada and all that. Anyway, Dan, I'm calling this morning about assessment.
Sure.
A lot of people don't understand assessment. I spent 27 years in that field, director for Halifax City, where I was responsible for the valuation of every property, had to go to the court to defend them. The base date for your assessment this year, when you get your tax or your assessment notice, it reflects the value, or is supposed to, of January the 1st, 2024.
Okay.
But it's based on the condition of the property on December the 1st, 2024.
Okay.
So people don't understand that. The roll is filed at the end of the year, so the council knows how much assessments are going to have. With the exception, they ask PVSC, how much do you think we'll lose in appeals? And they probably give a figure of 5%.
Right.
So you calculate that. You know how much assessment you're going to have. And you should, and they don't do it anymore, but you should reflect that when you're looking at your budget. When you look around at all these towers that are being built, they're all on the roll. But those under construction are there based on how much it costs to put them in the condition they're in on December the 1st, including the land. So they're getting a value from those. But when you think about all the towers we have built recently, Dan, and you think of 60 units in a building, whether they're condos or apartments, how much cheaper that is for the municipality than to having 60 houses in a strip. You save on waste. They pay for their own waste.
Right.
The snow removal, the fire, the police.
Garbage.
So you can't look around and say, well, we've got all these buildings, we have this much more expense.
Right. Gloria, you said earlier that that council should know that number, but they don't, and build that into the budget, but they don't do that anymore. Can you go a little bit deeper into that? I'm confused.
We would wait in Dartmouth until we got the roll, and then we would know whether we had to increase our tax rate to cover the expenditures, or whether, in fact, we could even reduce it. But today they just get it and calculate it in with everything else, and add that much more tax dollars in to see where they can spend them.
Thank you, Gloria.
You're welcome.
Have a fantastic day. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. The open hour continues right after this break. Welcome back to the Todd Veinotte Show. This is the open hour. Lines are open, 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Our first caller today talking about the construction delays on St. Margaret's Bay Road and the Peggy's Cove Road and the Hammonds Plains Road, where that construction's been going on for ever, and saying that up to 45-minute waits. I had another caller call in and say, no, best 10 minutes is the least. Well, I'll tell you, I've got a a whole bunch of emails here to our addressed to our caller Ben, I'll call it, and are saying that they've never been through there when it's taken 5 minutes to get through. So not sure really what's happening there, and to be quite honest, I don't know. I believe there are guidelines. I believe that there are set rules that for traffic delays when it comes to construction. We're going to reach out to the counselor for that region. It's District 13, I do believe. That's Nancy Hartling. We'll reach out to Nancy to see if there's a city rule, and maybe we'll reach out to the province as well to see if there's something from the Department of Transportation when it comes to rules on this. Because if you're getting caught up in traffic there for 45 minutes, that certainly is that's a long time, right? And then you, like I said earlier, if you're coming up to the Peggy's Cove Road and you're getting stuck, it might be faster for you to go down and around and come up the other way. Let's welcome Sarah to the program. Sarah, how are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
I was actually calling about the construction on the Peggy's Cove Road and St. Margaret's Bay Road.
How is the construction?
I've actually been,
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I've been sitting here for 30 minutes on the Peggy's Cove Road, and I've only moved half a kilometer.
So you're there right now?
Right now. There's no way it could take 5 minutes, and I work on the road. I deliver for Canada Post, so there's no alternate route for me.
Right, you can't go back and go around, right?
No.
So you've been there for 30 minutes, and this is like noon.
Yeah.
Holy smokes. All right, Sarah, appreciate it. Thanks for the update.
Thank you.
902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. So there's, as it happens, I guess, somebody currently stuck in traffic from there. If there's somebody out there that's on a flagging crew or somebody that deals with traffic control and so on and so forth, and you have better insight as to the rules that are associated with that, we've got, I don't know, 8 or 9 minutes left here in the show. If you could give us a call at 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Love to hear from you, just to get some good information out there. Let's welcome Leanne to the program. Leanne, how are you?
Hi, fine, thanks. How are you?
I am well. What's on your mind?
I'm also sitting on the Hammonds Plains Road at the moment.
Sorry.
I've been here for over 30 minutes.
I don't mean to laugh. That's got to be awful.
It is, and it's not the first time. And I heard the caller call in and talk about it, and then someone else called and said it's not so bad, but it is so bad. Maybe he got lucky on the day, but it is really bad.
And this has been going on for some time, right? It's not just new.
It has. Yes, I live in the area.
Oh, Leanne, I'm sorry. It's awful to be stuck in traffic for that long.
It's frustrating, yes.
I hear you. Appreciate you giving us an update.
I just wanted to let you know. Thanks.
Thank you very much. 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. Lines are wide open, folks. If you want to get into the show and have a conversation, this is what Open Line Radio is about. It makes a big difference if you actually call in instead of just talk to Vanessa. Just saying. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801. Although Vanessa is very pleasant to talk to. She is very pleasant to have a conversation with. But Open Line Radio works much better if you come on and share your conversation with all of us. Right? 902-405-6000 or 1-877-801-8255. We were talking earlier in the program today about Remembrance Day and how it's not a national holiday. And I think that, I think that it should be, and I don't think that there are many out there that suggest it shouldn't be. And I don't know why it changed. As a youngster growing up, I grew up in Ontario, as you all know. I remember having the day off to go to a Remembrance Day ceremony, and this is going back a year or two, so I'm taxing my memory, but I think it changed. I want to say in the 90s, but maybe I'm wrong. And now they don't, which I think is a shame. I think that with Canada Day, with Labor Day, with Good Friday, I think that this is almost a no-brainer that this should be a national holiday across the country, so everybody gets the same amount of opportunity to get out there and pay the respects. To the phones, we welcome Barry to the show. Barry, how are you?
Not too bad, Dan. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad. What is on your mind, sir?
The budget and the $78 billion deficit.
Yes, sir.
Nobody seems to be concerned about that, but that is my concern. It's the whole idea of spending 5% of our GDP on the NATO business. I'd rather he spend some of that on increasing the production of water bombers. There's a new plant in Calgary that's building the 515s.
Yep.
But there's Manitoba is the only Canadian province that has ordered any, and they have to wait until 2032.
Yeah, it's a long time, right?
And instead, all Europe and a lot of other countries across, all around the world have ordered these. They're considered the best in the world. So what's wrong with the federal government?
I'm not sure if that would count as defense spending or not, Barry. That's an interesting question.
I kind of doubt it, but who knows?
Appreciate you joining us today.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Barry. 902-405-6001, 877-801-8255. $78 billion deficit. Tack that onto our debt. And from the federal budget document itself, our debt servicing fee in Canada, the money that we have to spend every year just to pay the interest on the debt that we've accumulated as a country, right now at $55.6 billion. So $55.6 billion of every tax dollar that gets brought in by the federal government in Canada goes to whomever holds our debt. That doesn't buy a water bomber. That doesn't buy or build a hospital or a mega project that the Prime Minister's been talking about. And speaking of mega projects, tomorrow we're supposed to hear more about the mega projects, right? The Prime Minister in Fredericton earlier this week kind of teased that there's going to be several new projects that are about to be announced as part of this. Now, the reporting is obviously based on anonymous sourcing, which you take it or leave it. But CTV is reporting that there's a liquefied natural gas project that's going to be announced in BC, a nickel project in Ontario. New Brunswick is going to get a mining project, and there's a hydroelectric development in Iqaluit. No mention of Wind West. And if you heard our conversation earlier with the Liberal MP for Halifax, Shanna Medema, she said that there are still a few things that need to fall into place for that. I wonder what Tim Houston's thinking today. I mean, the Wind West project got mentioned in the federal budget. It also got and I'm putting quotes around it, an honorable mention when the first round of these major projects was announced. But it doesn't look like, and of course, this is obviously subject to change, and we'll know for sure when the Prime Minister announces them all tomorrow. But if Wind West isn't in there, is that another setback for a project that the Premier of Nova Scotia has been calling transformational and a generational project? Be interested to see tomorrow. We'll have an open hour to discuss that. Let's welcome Bob to the show. Bob, you get the last word today. Hello, Bob. Are you there? I'm going to put you on hold, Bob, because you're going to have to turn your radio off so that you can catch up. There's a delay. And if you are listening to your radio on your phone, it won't make any sense. So hopefully Bob's turned his radio down and he's listening to us on his phone and he's on the air. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm well. What's on your mind?
I'm looking out my window, and it's been going on since July, the Cowwell Road and the Cow Bay Road.
Okay.
They've been working here. They held up traffic. I'm looking out my window right now. Traffic's been held up for about 30 minutes each way. We don't even know what they're doing there. They put in new bus areas where you stand to get the bus.
Yep.
They made all kinds of mistakes and had to tear it all out again.
Oh, no.
So I don't know who's running these construction outfits. I don't care. Becky Kent's my counselor, but she don't inform us what's going on. And you sit here, and I've seen people out there just almost cause an accident because they got to sneak out of the line and go the other way. And we live right next to the Oceanview Manor for the seniors.
Yep.
And the ambulances even having trouble getting through there. And right from my house, I can see the fire hall, and they have problems getting through. It's just nothing but a nightmare. It's wonder they haven't caused accidents. And I don't think they really care about the average citizen sitting in a lineup and has a doctor appointment or something to do, and they just I don't know. They just like, we're not important.
Appreciate you bringing that to our attention, Bob.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. 902-405-6000, 1-877-801-8255. Remember that number because we're going to do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow is the Thursday or the Friday Eve edition of the program. We're going to do the open hour at 11 o'clock, so make sure you call in early to avoid disappointment. I'm looking forward to your comments. Until then, everybody, thanks so much to all of our guests who dialed the numbers and joined the program today. I truly appreciate it. Thank you to all of you who picked up the phone and dialed the numbers and joined the open hour. I learn things every single day that we do this, and I don't mean that facetiously. I really do, and I really look forward to that segment every day. Thanks to Vanessa Vandenez on the other side of the glass for all the hard work that she does each and every day. Until tomorrow, everybody, get out there and enjoy what Nova Scotia has to offer. We're lucky to live here. Be well and be kind to one another.